Godot is an open source game engine that's been booming in popularity recently,
right?
And it's no secret why. Hi, Unity. Hey. Hey man, I found this extra 20 cents lying around. Do you want it? Oh yeah man, thank you.
It's a real illustration of what it can look like to make your game through Unity. It's just so uncertain right now.
Personally, I'm an Unreal Engine developer myself, but I used Unity for the first 6 years of my game development career, so seeing their new revenue sharing policy is quite saddening. So the question becomes, can I make an entire video game in an engine I've never touched?
Let's go.
But first, I need to come up with a game idea. My wonderful mother is very passionate about gardening, and I'm a big fan of plants as well, but I'm not as crazy about getting my hands dirty. That's why I chose a career where I have to sit at my computer all day. Because of this, I've always wanted to make a game about tending to plants, decorating your home with them, and making sure they stay watered and pruned. The idea is you can get new plants anytime, but the more plants you have, the more you'll have to upkeep. Will you play a relaxing game of interior gardening? Or will you collapse to your insatiable desire for horticulture expansion, your hubris turning your life into non-stop plant care that can never realistically be upheld by just one mortal man?
It's a lot more intense than I was expecting for a garden.
Sketching out the concept for the game, I decided when you get a new plant, it should spawn as a baby and grow into a full plant, eventually become overgrown, which will require pruning, and then die if you don't water it enough. This required me to draw 4 versions of the plant, as well as designing a room with a lot of options for plant placement, and I also needed a character to actually tend to the plants. Since spooky season just started, I decided to make the character a little skeleton gardener. Before I turned these concepts and sketches into drawings, I wanted to dip.
See, we had the skeleton gardener. I feel like doesn't fit the theme as well, but okay. It just reminds me of like Viva Pinata or something, which has a lot of weird, weird random stuff. It doesn't fit with the whole just like this is a fun pinata gardening game.
And make sure I could figure out how to get at least the basic game mechanics working. I named this project Living for Plants because Mr. Skeleton here is incredibly passionate about his garden, but it's also funny because he's not living, he's dead.
Get it?
As long as I could click on a sprite to move it around, I'd have the confidence to complete the whole game. I created my first script, and it was at this moment I realized Godot uses its own programming language called GDScript, which I had never used or even.
That is the first big warning sign. I mean, even if it's easy, I don't want to have to learn a whole new language just to do Godot. In real, it's C++, like... Yeah, it's not the easiest language in the world, but really, if you're a developer, you probably know it. It's also Unreal how you haven't subscribed yet, so go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Unity is C#, so it's baby C++. I don't want to have to go through something else brand new just to make a video game.
And I'm pretty sure Godot has a way to integrate C# into its engine, which I have a lot more familiarity with. But screw it. This is a video about no experience, so I'm going all in and using the language I have no experience in.
There you go.
When is the next bus to Bikini Bottom?
What?
The bus schedule, the next bus.
I can't understand your accent.
After a lot of online research and 14 lines of code, I can now pick up sprites and put them back down.
Okay.
Now that I'm fluent in GDScript, I'm feeling it's about time to draw those sketches. I use Godot for my drawings and animations, but I only started doing this a few months ago, so I'm probably not the best person to take advice from that. But I do know 2 things for sure. 1, I'll never make an Adobe subscription again, and 2, Godot is free, so take that how you will. So I've drawn the setting, the skeleton, and 4 plant versions. So with Godot, I'll first add a button to spawn a plant. I've been programming for 12 years, so surely I can instantiate a sprite. Oh, I've crashed the engine. Since it definitely did.
The engine crashed just trying to spawn a new plant? What the heck? Ooh. Godot, you're losing points in my mind. That's very scary. Programs crash all the time, but like having your engine crash costs you a lot. I'm not a fan.
Since it definitely didn't take me an entire hour just to figure out why that wasn't working, I had plenty of time to give my plant the interaction code from earlier, so I can now pick up and place the plant wherever I want.
That looks nice.
To increase the immersion further, I added VR! Just kidding. To increase the immersion, I only allowed the plant to be set in certain places, as well as dynamically adjusting the scale, so it actually looked like you were placing it behind you. Next, I spawned it as a baby sprite instead, and figuring out how the Godot timers work, switched it to an adult, and then overgrown. And to switch it to the dead plant, I need the plant to run out of water. They need to be watered periodically, so I reused the timers and made a progress bar appear on the pot to let you know that it needs that hydration. After adding the same pickup code to the pail and making it rotate when you click, I realized I need some sort of actual watering animation. I added this particle effect with some water droplets I made, and I thought it looked pretty nice, but I decided to ask my friend Tyler for a second opinion.
Let's go, Tyler.
I tried a few more ideas before deciding to draw a full-on water-flowing animation. I had never animated anything like this before, so I just looked up waterfall animations online and winged it from there.
Oh.
And I actually love the way it came out. It looks so fresh
that looks
and
way
crispy.
better.
I just want to... I did the same thing for the shear.
I mean, we're coming a long way in what looks like not a lot of time. You guys overstating the problems with Godot. This looks not bad, honestly.
You click on the plant, it removes the overgrown leaves.
Nice.
Wow, that was not fun or satisfying in any way. So I went back into Godot and spent way too much time making each overgrown leaf its own individual object, so that in-game you can snip them off manually, one by one. But it was totally worth it. I made each leaf disconnect from the plant and fall off all floaty like a realistic leaf would. And all I did to get that effect was actually just rotate the leaf as it falls. Since none of these sprites have their pivot point on its own center, it sells the effect wonderfully by rotating around an invisible point. Now, this was pretty much the game I had conceptualized, but it really wasn't engaging yet. Despite the goal of creating a relaxing / sort of simulation game, I think the gameplay loop was far too one-dimensional for it to be actually enjoyable.
Only one
so I
plant,
decided to switch the new plant button for a shop, where baby plants cost a small amount of money, but you can resell them as adult plants to make more money to buy more plants.
Into a video game
after all,
then.
you are living for plants. I sketched the concept for the shop and quickly designed the economy of the game, like what factors would decrease the plant's value. I added the shop to Godot and even made this cool open and close animation. And once I had figured
that's
out
not a bad animation.
I couldn't stop there, and I had to create this cool blue bee animation for when the plant spawns in. But what is a plant shop that only sells one plant? I think it was finally time to get some more options.
Yes, there we go.
I decided to make 4 more plants total, because 4 plants wasn't just 4 more drawings. For each plant, I had to draw the baby version, the dead version, and 8 overgrown leaves that you clip off, totaling to 55 drawings for just 5 plants. But man, was it worth it. Making this little indoor garden was much more fulfilling when you had a variety of plants to choose from. And the thing is, I was starting to get a hang of Godot at this point, and I was having so much fun with this project, I just couldn't stop polishing it. I added a plant counter, I made the skeleton happy when you're watering the plant, I allowed you to flip the watering pail because you actually couldn't really even reach any plants that were placed on the left side of the screen. I added a sell menu that shows you why the plant will sell for that amount. I made clipping leaves occasionally give you coins, so there's another way to make money without actually having to sell your plants. And at this point, I was ready to call the game finished, but there was one thing I knew I needed to add that I couldn't ignore anymore. Customizing the pots. Every single pot looks the same, and for the entire time I was working on this game, I was trying to convince myself that I didn't care to avoid the amount of work it would take to add it, but I failed. So I drew 8 new pots of different shapes and sizes, but I think it's pretty obvious to see which one's the best. It wasn't as simple as that though. I created separate layers for each pot, so you'd have the ability to change the color to anything you'd like, as well as including a light shine that you can change the opacity of to simulate different amounts of glaze. This also meant I had to create another menu with all the pot options, as well as value sliders to change the color and glaze, and even threw in some slots at the bottom that you could save color.
The color
value sliders to change the color and glaze.
I mean, that looks nice. Hopefully that stuff's easier to work with than in Unity.
And even threw in some slots at the bottom that you could save colors in, so you don't have to recreate the ones you like each time. The pots don't cost any money, but to add a little extra progression into the game, I made it so you had to cultivate a certain amount of plants to unlock them. And after adding some sound effects and music, that's the game. It took about 5 days to complete, and truthfully, I'm really proud of how this project came out.
Okay, this is a lot in 5 days. Okay, Godot, at least for this man who's a good developer, Godot seems to at least pass the initial test. This looks like a video game, which is what we're after.
But the important question is, now that I've created an entire video game in Godot, what do I think of it? Well, it's fantastic. Once I got used to it, I really liked the organization from its node-based setup. GDScript was pretty straightforward and easy to pick up, and truthfully, I think Godot is going to be my new go-to engine for my smaller 2D projects instead of Unity. I had a blast making Living for Plants, and you can go play it right now on itch.io. Plus, it's an HTML build, so you can play it right in your browser. And make sure to let me know what you get for your high score. Have fun playing, and I'll see you next time.
Very cool. It's honestly kind of tempting me. I mean, I used Unity pretty much exclusively these days. Transitioning over to Godot would be a little disruptive, but maybe I'll give it a try next time I am doing something smaller in 2D, because that looks like it works pretty well. Shout out to Shawcat. Very useful video, very fun video. I'm going to link it in the description, which also helps if you're curious to play this game. We also do game development videos. Check out our channel down below. We appreciate you, and we'll see you later.